The Strait of Hormuz has long been the world's most critical choke point for global energy trade. For decades, a significant portion of the world's oil supply has navigated this narrow waterway. Prolific producers of the Persian Gulf, markets across the globe. Today, on March 31, 2026, the situation has been fundamentally altered. The strait, once a bustling artery of commerce, has slowed to a near standstill. This disruption is not a minor inconvenience. It represents a seismic shift in the logistics of global energy, forcing a rapid and costly realignment of oil flows that will have consequences for months, if not years, to come. The free passage of crude oil tankers, once taken for granted, can no longer be assumed. The scale of the shutdown is stark and unprecedented. In normal times, the strait would see a constant stream of vessels, about 135 ships each day, many of them crude oil tankers carrying the lifeblood of the global economy. However, following a month of intense conflict in the region, that number has collapsed dramatically. So far in March, an average of barely 6 vessels per day have managed to traverse the waterway, an astonishing 95% reduction. Shipping experts now deem the route effectively shut. As Anup Singh put it, Hormuz remains a closed gate for oil tankers. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed, the global tanker fleet had to find another way. The most viable, and for large tankers the only practical, sea-based alternative is around the Cape of Good Hope, a historic route thrust back into the spotlight, but not a simple change of course. It adds thousands of miles, stretches supply chains, and alters transportation economics. The Cape route has become the new normal for many journeys. The most immediate impact is longer voyage duration. Trips that once used Suez and Hormuz now require far longer journeys. From the Persian Gulf to Europe or the Americas, diverting around the Cape adds roughly 7 to 10 days. Between Asia and Europe, the Cape can extend voyages by 10 to 14 days. Capacity tightens across shipping. Since late February, spot container rates on key lanes have jumped, with Asia-US West Coast above $4,500 from $1,800 to $2,200 before the crisis. Longer voyages sideline ships from their next loads, reducing available capacity and forcing global schedules to reset. Fleet managers scramble to reposition vessels, adjust crew changes, and arrange extra bunkers for extended legs. The Cape is a costly but necessary solution, a test of maritime resilience. And as new oil routes emerge with the Strait of Hormuz in crisis, the world adapts, ship by ship, mile by mile. The decision to divert a crude oil tanker around the Cape is expensive. The two primary costs in shipping are time and fuel. Both surge on the Cape route. Added days at sea translate into higher OPEX, with fuel the largest immediate hit. These costs cascade through to consumers via higher energy prices. A modern VLCC typically burns between 50 and 80 metric tons of fuel per day. Extend voyages 7 to 14 days and the delta is huge. An extra 10 days can mean 500 to 800 additional tons of fuel, several $100,000 at current prices. Those sums roll directly into freight rates. Longer voyages tie up ships, shrinking effective supply just as rerouting lifts demand. Supply down, demand up, freight rates surge. Frontline PLC reports VLCC spot rates near $460,000 per day on Cape routes. Operational risks are high, but owners of modern, fuel-efficient ships are seeing windfall returns. Scarcity on a 14-day detour has created one of the most profitable tanker markets in recent history. The closure of Hormuz creates a paradox. Gulf exports fall, yet tanker demand rises. The key is ton miles, cargo in tons multiplied by distance in miles. It's more accurate than cargo volume alone because it includes voyage length. The longer Cape route is driving a spike in ton miles. Divert the same 2 million barrels from Suez to the Cape and distance jumps by thousands of miles. Persian Gulf to Northwest Europe. about 6,500 nautical miles via Suez versus over 11,000 via the Cape, roughly 70% more distance, 70% more ton miles. Each tanker is tied up an extra 1 to 2 weeks, effectively shrinking the global fleet. You can't add ships overnight, so rates rise sharply. Modern fuel-efficient vessels command premiums for long, reliable voyages. Ton-mile demand explains why this disruption is a boon for owners, and a headache for producers and consumers. While the world watches the sea, a big part of the response runs on land. Gulf producers long invested in pipelines to bypass Hormuz. The most significant is Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline, the Petroline, an engineering marvel spanning about 1,200 kilometers. It links eastern province oil fields to Yanbu on the Red Sea. From Yanbu, tankers can use Suez to reach Europe, cross the Atlantic to the Americas, or sail south toward Asia, all avoiding Hormuz. Nameplate crude capacity near 5 million barrels per day, with total system including NGLs at 7 million. Aramco said it would hit full capacity in days. Yanbu exports have surged, reaching 5 million barrels per day. It marks a decisive export shift. Pipeline throughput stabilizes flows and revenue, conferring geopolitical advantage. It can't replace all volumes lost through Hormuz, but it buffers a large share. Key partners stay supplied, preventing deeper global disruption. Strategic infrastructure built over decades is now paying dividends amid high risk. The United Arab Emirates built its own strategic bypass. The Abu Dhabi Crude Oil Pipeline, ADCOP, connects onshore fields to Fujairah. Located on the Gulf of Oman, Fujairah sits outside the strait, with direct blue water access. In this crisis, ADCOP and the port of Fujairah serve as a central hub to keep flows moving. Nameplate capacity is 1.5 million barrels per day. Analysts estimate roughly 71% utilization, with spare capacity remaining. ADNOC can temporarily raise throughput to 1.8 million if required. Fujairah exports rose to about 1.62 million barrels per day in March, versus 1.17 million in February. Crude is diverting from Persian Gulf terminals through ADCOP, marking Fujairah as a safe haven export hub. The UAE honors supply contracts, captures revenue, and avoids exposing ships to strait risks. Pipelines don't cover all exports, but they secure the majority and reduce vulnerability, a cornerstone of UAE energy security. A small number of vessels continue to transit Hormuz, but not as before. Reports describe an IRGC toll booth system exerting control over which ships pass and under what conditions. Operators submit voyage plans and vessel details to a vetting scheme. Only approved ships proceed through designated corridors. It's a significant assertion of control over a waterway long governed by transit passage. According to Lloyd's List, 26 transits have followed these pre-approved routes. Public statements acknowledge charging some vessels. Because war has costs, we must take transit fees. Reports suggest fees as high as $2 million for a single transit. These fees sit atop already sky-high war risk premiums for those still insurable. Paying might avoid the long detour, but it engages with sanctioned entities and sets a dangerous precedent. For mainstream operators, legal, reputational, and ethical risks make this route untenable. The system cements Hormuz as contested and costly, pushing more traffic to alternatives, which is why the Cape of Good Hope and pipelines are absorbing the flows. This is more than a regional problem. It's the largest single disruption to global oil supplies in history. Exports collapsed, millions of barrels abruptly removed from the market. An 8 million barrels per day plunge, roughly 8% of daily consumption. Bigger than the 1973 oil crisis and the Iran-Iraq war disruptions. Higher crude prices, strained inventories, and heightened energy security concerns. Reserves can cushion, briefly. Import-dependent Asia must compete for Atlantic Basin barrels, West Africa and the Americas, at higher freight costs. Trade flows are reshaping, creating winners and losers. Elevated ton-mile demand will define the tanker market as crude detours around the Cape. Freight rates, particularly for VLCCs, remain historically high. Pipelines like Saudi's East-West and the UAE's ADCOP run near full tilt. Yanbu and Fujairah solidify as critical hubs. Buyers either pay the premium for longer routes, switch sources and compete, or draw down inventories. None are easy. A prolonged crisis may spur new bypass pipelines and accelerate efficiency and transition efforts.